Hello, good afternoon. I hope I'm audible. Yeah. So today in our subject, company law, we will be starting Unit 8, that is Company Secretary. So under this unit, we will discuss about the objectives and a brief introduction of Company Secretary, definition, their appointment, qualification, as well as disqualification of Company Secretary. So basically, we'll start with the introduction part. Well, for every company need effective management and administration. Uh, we know that a company is managed by board of directors and also administered by company secretary. The company secretary plays a very important role in the incorporation of a company. The word secretary is derived from the Latin word known as secretaris, which means a notary or a writer. That is the person who to whom the secrets are entrusted. Also, a secretary means a company secretary within the meaning of section 2, 1C of the Company Secretaries Act 1980. Also, there are some other definition, and we can also find out the characteristics of company secretary as like only an individual can be appointed as a company secretary. A firm or a body corporate cannot be a company secretary. Like in the previous class, we have discussed about the director. That director has to be a person. So similarly, company secretary also need to be a individual. Okay, so any firm or a body corporate cannot be company secretary. Excuse me. Well, also the company secretary may possess the requisite qualification as prescribed by the central government. Then the company secretary must perform ministerial or administrative duties and not managerial duties. Okay, so the secretary must perform only ministerial or administrative role, right? Managerial duties are not done by company secretary. It is his duty to see that the affairs of the company are according to the Companies Act. So a company secretary is the, you can say, ears, eyes, and hands, while director are the brain of the company. Director frame the policies of the company and the secretary executes or implements them. Now, we'll discuss about appointment of company secretary. Well, in every company having a paid up share capital of 5 crores or more shall have a whole time company secretary. A company secretary shall be appointed by means of passing a resolution of the board of directors. Excuse me. Yeah. So we were at appointment. So a resolution is passed by the board of directors, which contains terms and condition of his appointment. Okay. Also, the remuneration is also mentioned over there. So his appointment shall be subsequently approved by the shareholders through a resolution passed at a general meeting. He shall not hold office in more than one company except in its subsidiary at the same time. Okay. Also, the first secretary of a company is generally nominated by the promoters of the company, and his name is stated in the AOA, that is Articles of Association. Also, it may be stated that a secretary is usually appointed before it is registered. The company is registered. So, his appointment should be confined at the first meeting of the board of directors after the company has been incorporated. Then the company secretaries so appointed must give the consent for his appointment in writing. The details of his appointment should be submitted to the registrar of companies. If the company is listed, the details of his appointment to be intimated to all the stock exchanges where the company securities are listed. So that is how appointment of company secretary is being done. Now we'll discuss about the next thing under this unit, that is qualifications. Well, the qualification prescribed by the Act for appointment of company secretary are classified into two categories. The first category is statutory qualification, and the next one is professional qualification. Now, we'll discuss professional qualification first. So, a company secretary is required to have the following professional qualification. What qualifications? Like he must have ability to make sound judgments. So the ability to assess and make sound judgment often in circumstances involving conflict, issues, and ends. It is a key requirement for company secretary. Then the next thing is knowledge of various laws. So he should possess sufficient knowledge about different laws, including company law. Then we have industrial and commercial laws and the other laws which are concerned the company. Then knowledge of economics, banking, and finance has to be there. So a company secretary should have the knowledge of modern methods of banking. He should have the knowledge of money and capital markets. Also, he need to have sound education. That is, the secretary should possess high standard of academic qualification. Since a company secretary has to perform multiple duties, it is desirable that he should be well qualified, right? Then next one could be knowledge of office organization and business methods should be known to him. So it is essential that the secretary should have sound knowledge of the different systems of filling, indexing, and duplicating. He should be familiar with the modern trends of office mechanization and automation. Now, coming to other knowledges, that is, he need to have knowledge of accountancy and taxation as well. So, as an executive officer, the company secretary must have a basic knowledge of bookkeeping and accountancy, as well as the law and practice of income tax, GSTs, and other taxes. And last but not the least, an impressive personality. A good and impressive personal qualities like sincerity, common sense, enthusiasm, a sense of responsibility are to be recommended for a company secretary. Right. So this was about the qualification under professional qualification. Now we'll discuss about the statutory qualification of company secretary. So there are certain points to be noted. The first thing is a membership from the Institute of Company Secretary of India, or he need to have a membership from Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, or membership from the Institute of Cost and Work Accounts of India, or PG in corporate secretaryship awarded by any recognized university in India, then degree in law or corporate laws awarded by any recognized university, and above all, he should be an individual, which we have discussed earlier. Right. So these are the statutory qualification which a person need to possess to be a company secretary of a company. Okay. With this, we'll be discussing about disqualification as well. So a person is disqualified from being appointed. There are certain points to be noted. These points are a person of, the first thing is a person is of unsound mind. That is, he is not stable. Then a person who is adjudged as insolvent or bankruptcy, which we have, which is similar to the disqualification of directors, which we have discussed in the previous class. So next one is a person convicted by the court of law for any offense, again the same one. Then on order disqualifying the person for appointment as CS has been passed by the court or tribunal, then there are certain people who cannot be a company secretary. These people are a director of a company, an auditor of a company, and any other person who is not qualified to enter into a contract. So these people cannot be company secretary. Who? A director, an auditor, and any other person who cannot enter into a contract. So this is how this company secretary has been defined. Then we have discussed about the appointment, qualification, and disqualification. Now, all in all, we can say that companies are managed by board of directors, and is its administration is taken care by person with professional qualification and who is named as CS, that is company secretary. Also, the term CS is defined under Companies Act 2013. It says, according to Section 21, Clause C of Company Secretariat 1980, a person who is a member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India is known as CS. To become a CS, a person should be individual, need to possess certain professional qualification like CS or CA or CMA, or with any legal qualification which is recognized. So at the time, the person should not be disqualified due to incapacity or disqualified by law in force. Then there is Companies Act 2013, which was brought more amendments to strengthen the whole of company secretary in the administration of a company. Right. So a whole-time company secretary is appointed by passing a resolution of board of directors in a board meeting and after accepting the appointment of directors. So such person should not hold the same position in another company. And the information regarding appointment should be sent to registrar of companies and the stock exchange in which the company shares are listed. Right. Also, the entries to be made regarding the appointment in the register of key managerial personnel. Okay. So that was all about company secretary. Now, give me just few moments. We will start our next unit, that is unit 9, that is status of company secretary. Okay, just a moment, we will start this unit now. So we'll start with our next unit, that is, where is the sharing gone? Okay. We'll start with unit 9, that is status of company secretary. So, uh, with the increase of, you can say, professionalization of corporate management, it is the context of modern corporate culture. Company secretaries plays a very important role in shaping the distinct corporate entity. Our CS is regarded as a senior management professional who discharge a wide range of varieties. So also known as KMP. So KMP, the full form of KMP is Key Managerial Personnel. That means the Companies Act 2030 confers special status for company secretary as a KMP. Also, KMP plays a vital role in implementing important decisions in company, and hence the future of a company depends on the effectiveness of its key management personals. Then, according to Section 2031 of Companies Act 2013, key managerial personnel or key managerial personals in relation to company, it means managing director or CEO or manager, and in their absent, a whole-time director, right? Then second is company secretary, and the third one is chief financial officers. So these people hold KMP, that is key managerial personnel. Okay. So what are these? The first one is maybe director or a CEO or a whole-time director, then a company secretary and chief financial officer. Any one out of them could be considered as KMP. Now, we'll discuss about how this company secretary works. What are the responsibilities, roles? So, a company secretary can be studies in from different point of views. The first thing is CS as a statutory officer. Similarly, we have studied about the appointment as a statutory ones. Now we will study about the roles in the context of statutory officer. So, a CS is an officer responsible for various compliances under different acts. And the responsibility has also been increased as he has been included in the definition of KMP. So, he is liable to punishment by way of imprisonment, fine, or otherwise for violation of the provision of Companies Act. Also, the Act makes it obligatory for the secretary to sign annual returns of the company, also to sign financial statements of the company. Then it is his duty to declare while incorporating a company that all the requirements of the act must have met with the registrar may accept such a declaration as a sufficient evidence. Now, under SEBI Regulation 2015, the CS shall act as a secretary to the audit committee as well in case of a listed company. So, under Indian Stamps Act, it is duty of a secretary to see all the documents such as letter of allotment, share certificates, debentures are issued and duly stamped. Then, under the Income Tax Act 1961, he is the principal officer of the company. So, these are the roles. Okay. Also, uh, company secretary work as the coordinator as well. So, a company secretary is a coordinator, has an important role to play in administration of affairs of the company. So, he has to ensure effective execution of the policies laid down by the board of directors. He is the connecting link between the company and the shareholders, the society, and the government. The external role of company secretary as a coordinator extend to various trade unions and the auditors of the company. Then we have discussed as CS as coordinator. Now we'll discuss about CS as an administrator. So, as an administrator, a company secretary has to make A detailed analysis of various activities of the company, like a decision making machinery in the company and interdependent departmental relationships in the company. The company secretary needs to analyze the financial statement of the company. He, in consultation with finance manager of the company, has to devise suitable and proper systems for accounting procedures, internal control, as well as internal audits. So, a CS deals with tax administration of the company. He is involved in tax planning and proper tax administration for the organization. Also, for a CS, it is required to advise and assist the directors on the basic functions of organization like recruitment, training policies of the company. Also, the secretary has an important role to play in safeguarding the company's properties, including the IP of the company, that is intellectual property of the company. So, he has to ensure that all the properties are properly maintained and insured, and also maintain a suitable register for each property, while which contains a relevant information, right? So further, the secretary has to ensure that there's statutory time limits relating to directors and shareholders meetings, payment of dividend and interest are compiled with, right? So these were the role of CS as an administrator. Now the next thing over here we will discuss about the duties of company secretary. There are various duties. Now we'll discuss few of them as CS has to facilitate the conveying of the meeting and attend board, committee, and general meetings and maintain the minutes of those meeting as well. So the duty of CS is this. Other than that, to assist the board in ensuring good corporate governance. Also, in the events of winding up of a company, he has to verify the statement to be submitted to the liquidator. Then, to ensure that every legal document of the company is affixed with stamps of requisite amounts. We need to be very careful about that. Then, to project, develop, and nourish the image of the company to the outside world. Then, to provide guidance to the directors of the company collectively and individually as they require time to time. Then to obtain approval from the board, the government, and such authorities are required by the Act. Then to issue share certificates, debenture certificates, and any other certified documents on behalf of the company. Next is to supervise the timely filling of tax returns with the income tax authorities. Also, as a chief officer of the organization, he is expected to protect the interest of shareholders, and in this regard, he is to act as a connecting link between the company, its directors, and the shareholders. So, such are the duties as may be assigned by the board from time to time. So, these are the overall list of duties which are being followed by our company secretary. Clear? Well, next thing over here is rights and power of company secretary. Okay, we'll check this. Yeah. So we need to discuss about the rights and powers. Well, a company secretary enjoys certain rights. Some of them are conferred by the Companies Act, while some other rights arise out of disagreement between them and the employers. So, a company secretary has a right to supervise and control the secretarial department of a company. He has the right to sign documents, as a principal officer of the company within the meaning of the Companies Act, then secretary has a right to issue share certificates of the company. Also, sometimes the board of directors may delegate some of their powers to the company secretary. Accordingly, he can enter into agreement on behalf of the directors and do all acts which the board of directors is specifically direct him to perform. Also, he has a right to be indemnified by the company for any loss suffered by him while discharging his official duties. So, these are the rights and duties of company secretary. Now, just give me a moment, please.
Crucial role in an organization, handling various administrative and clerical tasks to ensure smooth operations. Here are the typical duties and responsibilities of a secretary.
By the way, I'll tell you something. Power BI is actually 10 times better than Microsoft.
With this video, I hope the roles and responsibilities and duties of company secretaries are clear to you. So further, also we need to discuss about some other functions of company secretary. We will continue with that. Well, according to Section 205 of Companies Act 2013, the function of company secretary shall include to report the board about compliance and the provision of this act. Then the rules prescribed. One minute, I'll share the screen. Yeah. So, to report the board about compliance with the provision of this act, the rules prescribed there under and other laws applicable to the company. Then, to ensure that the company complies with the applicable secretarial standards. Then, to discharge such other duties as may be prescribed. So, apart from these functions, some other functions under different provisions of the Act are also performed by CS. They may include, like as a senior level officer, CS need to supervise, control, and direct subordinate officers and employees of the company. Then, as a legal advisor, company secretary has to guide the board of directors in formulating policies of the company. Also, the company secretary functions as discussed earlier as ears, eyes, and hands of the company. Then they need to maintain good relationship with shareholders by acting like a liaison between board and shareholders. Also, he must ensure that the rights of his shareholders, for instance, right to receive dividends, right to receive notice of meeting, etc., are protected. Then he has to ensure that company pay it taxes, fees, and duties as per the norms within the due time. Then he shall assist the board in formulating corporate social responsibility policies for the company. Also, as a senior legal officer of the company, the CS should update the board from time to time about the developments, if any, in the policies of the government. So these are the added, you can say, other functions of company secretary. Now we will discuss about compliances. Little about compliances. Okay. Well, we can say that compliance is the most important aspect carried on by CS for the smooth administration of companies' activities. Well, if the compliances are not followed, then there is violation of Companies Act, which lead to serious consequences, including winding up of company as well. So, compliances are very important. The word compliance is defined as a process of certification or confirmation that the doer of an action meets the requirement of practice, legislations, prescribed rules and regulations specified on terms of conduct. Give me a minute, please. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Yeah, so we were discussing about the compliances. So, as I have told that it is a process of certification or confirmation that somebody has or the doer has um, met the requirement of practices, legislation, and prescribed rules and regulation. Okay. Also, a company which has been incorporated in India must ensure compliance with the Companies Act 2013. So there are certain mandatory compliances required to be followed by every company regardless of the type of company, nature of businesses, etc. So once a company is registered with the registrar of companies, the following are the key compliances required to be followed by every company. The first compliance is meeting of board of director, which we have discussed earlier, right? Regarding the first meeting of BOD is required to be held within 30 days of incorporation of a company. Then further, 4 board meetings are required to be held every financial year in such a way that the gap between 2 consecutive board meetings is not more than 120 days. Also, the disclosure of interest by directors. Well, every director of the company in the first meeting is required to disclose his interest in other entities as well. Next one is verification of registered office. Well, within 15 days from its incorporation and all the times after that, a company is required to have a registered office. For what purpose? For receiving and acknowledging all official communication and notices. So, also verification of the registered office is to be filed within 30 days of incorporation. Next thing is a display of company name and details. Well, every company is required to have its name affixed outside its registered office along with its company identification number, registered office address, phone number, and email ID, fax number, and website address, if any, stated in it. Next thing is issuance of share certificate. Well, the company is required to issue share certificate to the member of the company within 60 days of incorporation of the company. All details of such issuance of share certificates are required to be maintained in the register of allotment. Well, in case of newly incorporated company, auditor may be appointed either by board of directors within 30 days of incorporation of company, or he may be appointed by members in extraordinary general meeting within 90 days of incorporation, and reappointed is required in every consequent annual general meeting of the company. Next compliance is maintaining a statutory register. Well, every company is required to maintain certain statutory registers under Section 85, 88 of the Companies Act 13 and required to keep them maintained at its registered office in the prescribed form. So, in case of any failure in maintaining the statutory register, the company as well as directors may be penalized and prosecuted. And the last one is CSR. Well, the Companies Act also included the CSR, that is Corporate Social Responsibility, provision in the Companies Act 2013. So, according to the provision contained in the CSR, companies are obliged to make the contribution in certain social services. Companies must adhere to CSR criteria and undertake CSR activities in the financial year. So, in addition to these mandatory compliances, there are certain specific compliances as well for different kind of companies. That is one person company, a private, a listed, or an unlisted company. Also, we have a compliance department. So, since compliances are mandatory for a company, every listed company has to establish a compliance department which performs certain functions which include to identify the risk that an organization faces and advise on them. That is the identification. Next is prevention. That is to design and implement control to protect an organization from those risks. Also to monitor and report on the effectiveness of these control in the management that comes under monitoring and detection. Then the fourth one is resolution, that is to resolve compliances difficulties as they occur. Next one is advisory, that is to advise business on rules and controls. Also, to carry out above functions, a company management framework is to be established, which has certain stages. Fine. First stage is compliance identification, where it involves identification of compliances under various legislation in consultation with the functional heads. The legal team has to identify the legislation applicable to the company and identify the compliances that are required under each legislation, right? Then compliance ownership. The ownership of the various compliances has to be described function wise and individual wise. Clear description of primary and secondary ownership is very important. While the primary ownership is main responsible for compliance, the secondary owner has to supervise the compliance. That is, let's say a secretarial office or associate company secretary may be primarily responsible and CS responsibility is secondary, like that. Okay. Then we have compliance awareness. So the next important step in establishing a legal compliance management is creation of awareness of various legal compliances among those responsible. So many a times compliances are handled by persons who are not fully aware of requirements of the legislation, and hence creating appropriate awareness among the owners is very important. So next thing is compliance reporting. Well, compliance or non-compliance should be communicated to the concerned. Reporting of non-compliance ensure that appropriate corrective action is taken by the responsible person. Although the action process of compiling the information under various laws may vary from company to company and is dependent on various factors such as the number of units and scale of operation. Then IT can play an effective role in implementing of corporate compliance management program across various departments of a company in terms of real-time compliance, reminders, generation of reports, and sending warning signals when there is any violation of legal provisions. So this was all about the compliances, right? And the last topic under this CS, we have secretarial audits. So a secretarial audit, we can say it is a process to check compliance with the provision of various laws, rules, and regulation by an independent professional to ensure that company has compiled with the legal and procedural requirements and also followed due processes. It is essentially a mechanism to monitor compliance with the required of this law and process. Well, secretarial audit is a process of independent verification, examination of level of compliance of applicable corporate laws to a company. The audit process, if properly devised, ensure timely compliance and eliminates any unintended non-compliance of various applicable rules and regulations. Also, any action plan of the corporate secretarial department is to be designed so as to ensure that all the event-based and time-based compliance are considered and acted upon. So, secretarial audit is to be on the principle that prevention is better than cure, rather than post-mortem exercise and to find results. So, effective mechanism to ensure that the legal and procedural requirement are duly complied with, provides a level of confidence to the director, officers in default, KMPs, etc. Directors can concentrate on important business matters as secretarial audit ensure legal and procedural requirements. It strengthens the image of the company in the mind of regulators and stakeholders. Secretarial audits is an effective compliance risk management tool. Also, secretarial audit is an effective governance tool as well. Now, we'll discuss about the benefits, right? Then we'll wind up this. So, best coming to the benefits of secretarial audit, it can be an effective due diligence exercise for prospective acquirers of a company or controlling interest or a joint venture partner. It assures the owners that management and affairs of the company are being conducted in accordance with requirement of laws and that the owner's stake is not being exposed to undue risk. To ensure the management of a company, that those who are charged with the duty and responsibility of compliance with the requirement of law are performing their duties effectively and efficiently. Then it ensures the management that the company has complied with the laws. And secretarial audit being proactively measured for compliance with a plethora of laws, it will have salutary effect of substantially lessening the burden of law enforcement authorities. And finally, it reduces the workload of the regulators due to better and timely compliances. Well, with this secretarial audits thing, we are done with Unit 9, that is status of company secretary. So for now, this is sufficient enough because there is not much time to start a unit and finish it off today. So if any doubts, anything is there, you need to ask. I'm here for a few minutes before the class end. You can unmute and ask me question or put your question in the chat box. Thank you.